It's massive. It's amazing. But at the end of the day, if you talk to some of the influencers, content creators, talent out there, their engagement is going back 5 years ago, where their view counts are going down, their likes are going down, whatever it may be. So the way that they're pitching brands is having to change. And so what we like to say is we're going to help you, and it started with an education. So to answer your question, it took a while for people to understand. And
Evan, how's it going?
guys,
How are you?
good. How are you?
I'm doing good.
You have a good
Where are
weekend?
you? Huh?
I'm great. You have a good weekend?
Yeah, weekend was fine. Humid and stuff. Are you in Chicago?
I am, and I saw DePaul out of you on there on the LinkedIn.
There you go. What part of the city you in?
Okay, well, I'm gonna let you trivia. Ready?
Okay.
Hang on, I'm upstairs right now.
That's a hell of a pad.
Well, the upstairs is a little hidden gems. I don't know if you can see that building over there. I'm gonna
Are
turn
you in the
there.
South Loop?
I'm in River North. That was East
River
Bank
North.
I pointed at you. But that's your old skyline.
There it is. Okay, now I see it. Well,
where did you live?
I'm in the burbs, so I'm in Mount Prospect, right by O'Hare out there. So,
yeah.
Oh, that's cool, man. You're in the back door, basically. Awesome.
Here, man. I know. You know what? In a world of Zoom being normal, we probably could have met in person at some point, but now
legitimately.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to know you're nearby, so that could always happen.
100%. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. How are you doing? How is everything?
Everything's great, man. It's been it's been a balancing act of, and probably it sounds weird to say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Besides everything negative of COVID, having a 3.5 and a 2-year-old and working from home while you're building, it's like, it actually is a great balance because I can hide up here, which you can see I get a little escape, but
yeah, that's a nice.
I got good quality time in with the fam, and I also got to focus in on work, so it's nice.
Tell me how you came up with this, because first of all, I want you to break down for dummies like me and people who might not grasp the technological concept of what you got going on there. So tell me kind of the basics of Key. What is it? How can people use it? How have kind of influencers and celebrities used it? So the quick, not an elevator pitch, you already done the thing, but like the kind of the blandest, I guess, the simplest way to understand it for someone off the street who wouldn't know what it means or what it is that you did.
Let's go real simple. And then let's back it up a little bit. Is that fine?
That sounds good to me.
All right. We wanted to give a way for talent to take control back of their data. And that means if you own your data, you can do a lot of fun things with that. You can communicate with your fans better. You can unlock better brand opportunities. You can monetize your content. And so for us, it was literally as simple as it's time for talent to take back control, because they have control of what they push out there, but all of their data, as we all know, is kind of up in that beautiful cloud being shared amongst others, and they don't know it, and they don't have a way to monetize it. So we wanted to give them the same opportunity that if talent's the new brand, which we all believe that they are,
sure,
shouldn't they have the same wherewithal that brands have in a way to monetize, understand, and segment their audiences?
And has this been kind of in a sense, a recent push? I mean, we've seen kind of people and talent take their own, kind of take back their own possession of their own, content and brand by doing some things like OnlyFans. Like, we're talking about new kind of things emerging versus the standard of like Instagram and Facebook, which you see the ads constantly. There's different, but like, I think the kind of on a bigger landscape, we've seen the change recently, technically over the last year, with things like OnlyFans, where it's more direct. Patreon is another kind of outlet like that. Have we seen a shift? Is this shift really happening in the middle as we kind of speak right now?
And let's throw another great company in there, Masterclass, right?
That's right. Yes.
Great company. Their amazing stronghold is all about giving a way to monetize your content. Someone pays you, and they're going to look into whatever it is you want to show them. And obviously, we say that in the world of, for Masterclass, high fidelity produced content, less amount of creators on there, to Patreon, kind of that in-betweener, and OnlyFans a little more long tail in a certain vertical, oftentimes.
Yeah.
And I look at it and say, the content monetization is a wonderful push, but the data monetization still doesn't exist, because ultimately, if you think about this, you start with OnlyFans working backwards, as you highlighted.
Mm-hmm.
If we'll use an appropriate person like Cardi B that's on it.
Yeah.
Right? She doesn't know the first name, last name, email of those individuals that are paying her. And ultimately, she's getting paid, which is great. But the IDFA, which is a little update on Apple, we can get into all of this craziness. You said start plan. Ultimately, is an identifier for advertisers. And brands want to spend when they understand audience. And OnlyFans owns that audience. Patreon owns that audience.
Yeah.
Masterclass owns it. Facebook, they own that audience. But talent doesn't own their audience. They own the monetization. They get paid. So we're talking about more of a shift in the direction of, now that people are starting to say, great, I can now understand who's paying me, meaning I'll make X amount of money a month if I do X, Y, Z. The next iteration of that is saying to a brand or to themselves, well, which one of this audience likes me because of my music versus my makeup versus my modeling versus my behind the scenes footage, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
We're not created equal as fans.
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting concept, because like these influencers, they don't do just one thing technically, especially if you have a celebrity in that aspect. There's different fan bases and different. Yeah, that's.
I always use a funny analogy. I follow Kim Kardashian because she's Kim Kardashian. That's part of my world. Unbelievable, beautiful woman, great. My wife follows Kim Kardashian because she watches all the shows on E.
Right.
Okay. And a girl that works for me buys Skims. I'm not buying Skims, but we are all considered one audience set oftentimes. So if you don't start to segment your audience groups, what you just highlighted, it's very important. You kind of either bombard users that don't care about certain pieces of content, or you take away opportunity to sell through to those that do.
Makes sense. Another thing that's been kind of exploding over the past, year or so has been NFTs, right? That's a big thing. Kind of also the simplistic way, to the audience who will be watching this. What are they, and why have they become kind of a phenomenon over the past year?
Really great question. I mean, for me, and I'll be the first to say it, NFTs were a new acronym in the world of internet advertising. Is full of acronyms. Like we could do a whole skit, you and I just speaking in acronyms.
Probably.
And no one would understand us. It's fine. When NFTs came out was a long time ago. And being a friend of mine, Mac, had started CryptoKitties, which became Dapper Labs. And that's 2017. That's like going back to the Stone Ages in this space.
Right.
So for me, my education came in really only about 9 months ago. And what I realized, it started as a cash grab, land grab for people without understanding the meaning, right? And then it started to convert into a way to connect with an audience through an experience that might be digital. And so I think what's the evolution we've started seeing, and I don't know if we had shared with you, we worked with Francis Ngannou, the UFC.
Yeah. Big fan of him.
Oh, nice. Amazing. And so what's
UFC champ, heavyweight champ.
He's the big time. And this
totally
had 2.3 million followers on Instagram. We started working with him. A CA, an amazing class act, and his team is incredible. We realized he didn't own one email record of any of his fans. And that's normal for people. They just don't. It's a popularity contest of how many followers. But ultimately, what is more valuable? 2.3 million followers or 100,000 first-party records of who care, right? So we wanted to help him shape the who care. And NFT was a great catalyst for that because he knew he was in the space. We said, how do we do it differently? Because all these people are popping up their things. And we said, what if we do something different, never done before? Let's tie it to a live event. Bet on yourself. And if you win, let's drop a unique NFT that people can tie to a historical moment. But more importantly, let's not do just a cash grab of a still image that's thrown up there, which a lot of folks have been doing, no names mentioned. But let's actually create some utility package why don't you give away your gloves if you win, wrapped in the sand mines from Cameroon where you came from?
Wow.
Someone's getting a unique piece with that now, tied to a story. Let's also tie it to a charitable cause. You came from the sand mines. Let's raise money. Let's also make this available to people that aren't just understanding NFTs. Someone that just can't afford it. Let's do a giveaway for your fans. We can help capture email as a result, which leads to an understanding of data and future brand opportunities, which we'll get into.
Oh yeah.
All of these things started connecting. We realized when the physical and the digital world come together for a unique experience, that's where I think these non-fungible tokens move forward. Because right now there's so much supply dumping out that we just saw the other day, what somebody sold an invisible piece called NFT. Invisible art. It does not exist. They just said there.
Right.
They sold it. So if you look at all of this right now, there's so much supply that those that are going to make it everlasting are the ones that connect with their fans and create something that is physical and experiential to move on. So for Francis, it might be tied to a fight, but the next one could be a fight and access to sit ringside with him for a different fight.
Wow.
Or maybe getting access for meet and greet because you have a QR code and a jacket that comes with it. So that's kind of the evolution, I think, that breaks through the noise of everyone saying, I'm The Weeknd, here's my album cover, I'm gonna make $5 million.
Yeah, this is personal. That's the cool thing about it, because no matter what, if you see, even if you don't win this or whatever, you know, you see someone did, right? So that makes it legible and real, right? Versus like, oh, it's some giveaway or whatever. You don't know if anyone ever won it, or just, you know, you see a posting for it and you don't know what happened, what the hell happened to it. So this is real life based. This is like almost like the most personable thing you can do.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because there are a lot of charitable platforms out there. And I truly wholeheartedly believe are doing good in the world. Charity Buzz, Prizio, Omaze, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I'm a Boston guy. So when I see a Matt Damon, Tom Brady thing, I'm a sucker, and I go in there and I pay my $10 for 5 million tickets or whatever the gamification is.
Yep.
I never know who wins.
No.
I've never seen the person win skydiving with Will Smith. I have no idea what happened. Where did my money go? Is it tangible? Did someone actually get some benefit out of this? So when we talk about social impact and things that we've been focused in on, you want to make sure that you create that connective tissue to what you just highlighted. Make it feel real. Bring it back and let someone make it tangible for them.
Yeah, personable. How did you get the celebrities, the influencers on board with that? Like when you pitched that thing, that, you know, what has been their response to this so far? You know, with Francis, I mean, wow, so many opportunities there could be for fans, but you've covered people from and celebrities, influencers from different realms. How do you kind of pitch that to them? How did they feel about that aspect of making it so personal? You know, because you obviously, a lot of them, majority of them want to connect with their fans. That's the whole thing. You know, they understand the fans kind of make them, you know, into who they are in a lot of ways. How has been their response from what you've kind of been noticing with your interactions?
It's really interesting because COVID was an accelerator for it, obviously. And the fact that there's been so much content put online in the last year.
TikTok, another one. You know, we got a whole new social, you know, platform that erupted.
And when it became real for them was when they started seeing the model that they used to pitch themselves off of changed. When somebody said, I have 1 million followers, and I'll give you an example we can use. Paul Wall, old school hip hop rapper. He had a song called Grills that came out a long time ago. So he did a song with Kanye. He's got 1 million followers. And he wanted to do a giveaway when he reached 1 million for a set of bottom grills, shockingly. And does a post, a reel on Instagram. He gets 80,000 views, which is pretty high these days.
Yeah.
And then after 80,000 views, he gets 14,000 likes. And after 14,000 likes, he gets 542 comments. And the comments are like, Paul Wall, baby, I love you, eggplant emoji, fire emoji, whatever it may be.
Yep.
And that is the model that has always been how they take that data and you have to pitch to a brand, look at my engagement. And when we did help them with his giveaway and promote it and target his first party audience from a media perspective, he captured 8,000 first-party data records of email and phone number, and people opting in said, I want to register and be connected to you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open
Not
these.
bots or just you know what I mean? Just casual clickers. Like this is a big deal. You know, when you have actual subscribers and people committing like a real life human, you know?
Yeah, you're spot on. So think about this. That waterfall I gave you, the North Star for brands was I got 542 comments and I got 14,000 likes. He now is able to say, and I actually also have 8,300 emails,
Yeah.
and 6,700 phone numbers. And I can take that audience. If you want me to message them directly, great. But I can also find those users and model out users like them to run media to target on behalf of your brand. And I can find those users not just on Instagram, but if they're on ESPN. And it doesn't have to say, it's me, Paul Wall. It's just finding the right users in the right environment. And that's what media has been forever, but talent's never had the opportunity to turn themselves into their own publisher. And we're giving them the way to do that.
Yeah, and that's, where do you think this could go with this kind of, because we have taken, you know, it's been interesting sort of change how social media and everything's changed. Remember back in the, you know, the early days, even, you know, you remember from the Celtics, or maybe you were around Chicago, the Bulls, like all the attention like the celebrities would get, or the stars or athletes would be through press. Press was so important, you know, media, you know, newspapers. First it was newspapers and they were huge. Then it was places like ESPN. To get on ESPN, that was a huge thing.
Oh, totally.
Stars and influencers don't need that anymore, right? They can create their own vehicle. You know, Naomi Osaka is a good example of it in tennis now. You know, she doesn't want to do media and she's willing to forego it and lose money because she wants a direct interaction with her people, you know, not having media change her message. Tell me when what you're doing is sort of totally the way that it's going towards, and it's been going towards, and a way of the future, controlling your own content. Tell me about how we are, in a sense, in this position and potential future of it. Like how much more can the talent be in control of it? And does this also favor the fans more so than having that middle ground of press and media?
So here's where it gets interesting also with a little bit more technical side, right? There's all these market forces right now. You got Google deleting cookies basically off the internet, taking it off of Chrome. And ultimately, why? They own Google Maps, YouTube, small little apps like that. So they have a lot of first-party data already. They don't need it. You got Apple updating to 14.05, which means you have to opt in to share your data, which more than 75% of people are not going to do. And then you have Facebook upset that Apple's doing that, yet they just delivered $26 billion in Q1 of revenue. They're doing just fine. So who's getting squeezed? All the individuals that are kind of pawns in this whole game, which are talent and creators. And so where I think it's really interesting right now is we talk about first party data being that unique identifier, a way to understand where audiences are.
Yeah.
And the biggest shift right now to everything that you're highlighting is all of these social platforms, TikTok, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, are amazing reach plays. You get, at any moment, last night, I didn't pay for the fight, and I was on Twitter. Got my updates in real time. I saw everything that was happening.
Yeah.
I saw videos. I saw everything I needed. I was good.
Yeah.
I could engage. I got people's opinions. It was wonderful. I had reach against the people that I wanted to. But if I wanted to engage in a one-to-one, if I want to feel like I'm in that fan club, think about that new age model where it's like back in the day when I signed up for the Pearl Jam fan club. You're just basically giving everybody the opportunity to build their own fan clubs in a way that when they want to communicate something a little bit more tangible, they can off platform, but they can promote using these amazing platforms on platform. So the shift ultimately in this big dream world that we have is the more data that you arm yourself with, the more understanding that you have of, are your fans drinking Dunkin' Donuts in the morning or Starbucks? Are they driving a Tesla or a Ford Focus? What airline are they flying? What television show do they watch? Because all of that data is never going to be relinquished by Amazon and Facebook because they just made $26 billion.
Right.
So
And they turn it just to ads, converted to like spam basically in a lot of ways. Yeah.
So this is a way to organically, natively insert whatever word you want to understand your audience in a way that can be actionable. And that's what we're providing. So if you think about it, all of these people that have a lot of reach socially, and then you have these websites that have a lot of reach, ESPN, Daily Mail, Hearst, Condé Nast, whatever it may be.
Yep.
Imagine if Kendall Jenner, or we work with Quincy Jones or Gordon Ramsay, become their own publishers. Imagine if now a brand doesn't just buy on Instagram or somewhere else to post something directly
right.
that a fraction of that audience sees, but instead, maybe a talent never has to post again if they don't want to, or they can do it hybrid and say, you know what, I own my own audience, first party. Do you want me? I can do a post for you, but do you want me to actually target my audience that's buying Lululemon or eating McDonald's? I have my audience that you can activate against, and we built all that plumbing for them. So that's where it's, think of that mindset of we're turning talent into their own publisher. They become the website.
Wow. And then that's what I mean. You're your own corporation in that sense too.
Yeah.
How do you, it'd be interesting because as a talent, I'd imagine you're focused on your work and your content, and you might not know all the ins and outs of doing this stuff. How do you go through through their management? How do you get that connection with them? Because I always wonder how much talent is aware, because probably a majority of the big time stars and stuff, they have people posting for them. You know what I mean? Like this stuff is all paid for. Like Tom Brady's got the greatest social posts, right? But I don't know how many times, I'm sure he approves it, but I don't know if it's Tom coming up with these genius.
If that, because we get all the talent that they hit the button and it goes up.
Yeah.
It's really
how do you pitch that to your talent? How aware have you become speaking to Francis and the people, like how much did they know about, that kind of technological side of it? And how curious, I wonder, they would be when you talk to them about this stuff.
It's so funny, all walks. There are people that are curious and they really want to learn. They might not do anything with it. Their agents might, but they want to learn. And it's also interesting. We approach agencies because that's how you scale with channel partnerships. So like MLBPA is a great partner. Elite World Group, great partners. They have a lot of talent within their realm. So it's an education from top down, but it also starts with kind of getting use cases within each of those frameworks of agencies, right? So Francis is out of CAA. We don't work with CAA as a whole, but now we work with a really great talent within their org, and hopefully that ladders up. Versus other places like Quincy Jones and his production team, we work with their management and Quincy that goes down to the whole agency. So it really is one of those things where it's education. Some people lean in, some people don't, but it's about the team. And I think what's been really exciting for us is a WME, CA, UTA, they're the king of castles, right? But there are all of these agents and agencies that are smaller or that are broken off that are out there saying, we need technology to give ourselves an edge. We want to be able to pitch for new deals, to get new talent on board in our agency and win people over. So we become a tool set for them to do that, which is cool.
So it's instead of the kind of the Kings, it's kind of like the studio system, right? You had the Warner Brothers, all that. You have so much credibility and years of built-in things that you don't feel like you need to innovate, right? Because you have a built-in foundation and a status, right? Of what you've achieved in the industry versus other things that came up like Netflix, who didn't have that, but they were innovative and did something new. And then they rose to the top, even though they kind of knocked off the big, in a sense, the Mount Rushmore of the studio system. So I see this kind of with the agencies. It seems like that's
And Jim, you can take the agency and then you got to look to the individual talent management team. Because
that too.
What else is fascinating to me is there are folks that it's kind of reactive business and it's always on. They're top of the world. They're the one name athletes, whatever it may be.
Yep. And
then there are folks that are constantly, to your point, innovating and understanding and educating themselves on what's new out there. And what our platform is doing is leveling the playing field. Somebody with $1 million a post kind of revenue stream, which there are a few of those one name, LeBron, a leading
Ronaldo, I think, yeah.
Right, Ronaldo.
Mm-hmm.
But what happens when we start showing that somebody that might have cost $50,000 to do some social posts because they have their first party data to target after can reach the same audience more efficiently?
Wow.
You've leveled the playing field. So what we're getting excited about is working with these agencies and agents that are saying, I want to understand what's going on in the world and the landscape. And now we're going to be ahead of the curve and activating a lot of these type of toolkits to help our talent for the long run. It's just setting up new foundational layers.
I'm curious about your background. What was it? Like, have you always kind of worked in tech and that sort of realm? Or what was your kind of background that led you to this place? Because it's pretty fascinating stuff that you're doing, you know, and right on par, very, very forward thinking.
I appreciate that. You're a Chicago guy through and through?
Yep.
Do you remember way back in the day? We're talking about old school. You want to go back to like the Friendster MySpace days, but you want to go back.
Yeah. Totally.
If you want to go back to the Eddie and Jobo B96 days.
Oh yeah. Yes,
I worked for B96 doing ad sales, wearing a suit every day, selling hip hop radio.
Okay. Yep.
I met what is now my wife, which was her first job out of school. We started dating a few years after, working there as well. So I started doing ad sales, and then the progression was people were shifting into digital media. So I had an opportunity to work for some incredible people in the tech space that have now become close friends, investors, and I've been lucky enough to be part of not only two of their exits into Yahoo and Tesco and Kroger, but then I had formerly built my own company, Clearstream, that we sold to Engine Media Group, which was a large creative shop. They own Trailer Park that makes the movie trailers and Deep Focus.
Okay.
So yeah, I've always been tech forward, and now being able to sit there and say, if, like we said, if talent's the new brand, and I know how to pitch the brands, let's give them the same wherewithal. Let's give them the opportunities.
Oh, and you started up in the ground up, sales and radio. You know how that goes. I've worked in radio. I've interned. Like that was my out of college thing. I wanted to do broadcast. You know, I was at Q101. You know, really? Sherman and Tingle. Yeah, that's where
my wife interned there before she got to B96.
There you go. You know, it's a small, but that was a time where those big jocks were like running a town. You knew Sherman Tingle on Q101, Eddie Jobo B96. Like those were kind of the big, you know, major, yeah. And now they don't have it anymore. Like there's no really household names in radio, especially in Chicago. There's very few.
Now it goes to podcasts. Reemergence has come back again. And that's funny because on podcasts, same thing. Like we are doing some work with iHeart right now because they're the podcast side of things. Same game. Who's really listening and why are they listening to which episode? By understanding that audience and then being able to run it into a data platform to know what those fans are into, that leads to new brand sponsorships.
Oh yeah, totally. New content. You can literally create a separate, you can have your, you know, your radio host having like a separate show or content or special, like targeted, like, oh, they have like a Bachelor section talking about the Bachelor on their, you know, podcast version, which they don't talk about on the air. Maybe a quick mention of it, you know, because you don't have the time, but that brings a whole different, you know.
It's funny you said that. Like we, we're, you know, the Bachelorettes that did, Scrubbing In is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
Right. So we work with them.
Okay.
So like helping them understand again, like who are their audiences? So that leads to, like we said, with all the data that we're providing back of brands, it's not who follows, who listens. It's actually who is engaging with them in a real way from providing an email or a phone number matched against who's traveling somewhere through Orbitz integrations or MasterCard or TransUnion Experian data that we have. So we're bumping those together, and now we're giving it back to iHeart and saying, now you can work with Scrubbing In and help the girls find new brand opportunities.
Yeah. And everyone kind of gets something out of it. You know, that's a cool point. The pie is being, you know, spread out, you know, not just by one dominant, you know, just because it's a corporation, they don't have now full control. That's been the kind of, I feel like now creators, and being a content creator of a smaller stature myself, you know, it's like you see that you don't need to rely on big corporations, networks to put your stuff out there, you know?
I mean, look, you've built a beautiful platform for yourself and you cover a lot of different areas.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting to your point of the fact that you did this and you can have the ability to, and others have the ability to, if they work hard and create something unique, which you did. So it's amazing.
It's hard. It's a lot of work, like you mentioned, but I always felt like, you know, I want to put out content that I would enjoy myself to see, or do interviews that I would want to, you know, watch myself. And it's like, I feel like in a lot of, I guess, previously media and stuff, it was very pigeonholed. Like, well, you got it. You know this, you just got to stick to this topic. But it's so much wide range. Like we as humans are not only interested in like basketball, this sport, we're interested in football, we're interested in music, you know, like there's different avenues that create us. We're not just like a one pigeonholed, you know, interest group, you know, and I felt like as a content creator, you have that freedom in a sense to create stuff that interests you, that hopefully interests other people out there in various different aspects.
100%, man.
That's so cool. I just wanted to know about your team. Who do you work with, and what's that team behind you? Because it's always a great team that makes everything happen. You know what I mean? Whether support team or, you know, whether a wife being the support group or your partners in work.
She is good support. Investors are great support. They're incredible. But we have 12 people full time on the team right now.
Wow, that's a pretty big crew.
2 amazing summer interns. So 14 hanging out now. But you know, I've lived by this motto for a long time from my old founder, Michael Katz, who said to me, we were building the company InterClick, and I was helping lead sales, and we sold to Yahoo at the time. And this was 11 years ago. And he said, and I always remember this, the ride's better than the exit. And that's, you got to live by that. Every person you hire is part of extension of you and your culture. It doesn't mean you hire everyone so we can go have happy hour together every night. But when you work together, you want to have fun together. You want to collaborate. You want to make sure everybody washes dishes together. And all of that kind of mindset for us. And even when we started our last company, Clearstream, we had 60 employees. We interviewed everybody. We wanted to know them. We wanted to understand what makes them tick so that we could all get along. So it's a huge part of building.
I so couldn't agree. You know, I interview a lot of film directors and people like that. And the number one thing I always ask them, like, what makes you want to cast someone? It's just like, do I want to work with them for 3-4 months? It's not about talent, because you can have a lesser talent, but if they're good to be around and bring a good atmosphere, they'll pick them 99 out of 100 times over the vastly more talented person, because who doesn't bring the same sort of positivity or maybe has a negative attitude. It's so important. People overlook the fact in every almost industry how important it is to work in a good environment, because it affects everyone. You know what I mean?
Everything.
Oh, that's smart. You know, you figured out your way, you know, and you definitely seems like surrounded yourself with some great people to create these next level things. And this is cool when I heard about this, you know, and especially here in Chicago based, you know, like I didn't know we're making stuff like this in Chicago that affect kind of the world and celebrity and all that.
We're doing it. It's funny. We people tease all the time. We're on calls with Zoom, right? You're talking to LA, New York.
Yeah.
And I said, you've been to Chicago? Oh, but meeting to get there. I go, oh, I know, I get it. We're just your flyover city. Just keep on going. I get it.
Just the coasts matter to them, you know, just like they just acknowledge the other coasts, but yet we're doing big time work out here.
Big things here. It's great.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I like you seeing based here. You know, it just brings more to the city that, you know, in a grander scale that, you know, you don't have to be on a coast to do something impactful, you know, as long as you got that's kind of about our digital world today, that you can create great things wherever you are.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. That's true.
Absolutely, man. I'm so excited. I'm excited to find out more and see this come to use. You know, like I said, I'm a fan of a lot of the talents you guys are already working with. So this is cool.
And the same thing goes for, and I say this to everybody in any meeting. If there are people in your life that you've interviewed, talked to, friends that are looking for a way to understand their audience in a more real fashion, that can hopefully lead to some opportunity, you know, we can't guarantee that they're going to get all these big 6-figure brand deals overnight. We can set them up foundationally for it. And I'm more than happy if an extension of you is obviously cut from the same cloth, more than happy to help anyone in your world.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I talk with a lot of creatives and from different forms and realms, and I'm certain that's something they could possibly only gain, with. So that would be cool. If I can make that connection, I would be happy to, for sure. Evan, this was a blast. Thanks for teaching me and kind of giving perspective. I'm fascinated by how the industry keeps on changing in a lot of ways, and nothing better than see a local person doing well,
What I'm talking about, man. It was so nice to meet you, Jillian. Thanks for setting it up. And if you have any follow-ups, just keep firing away.
Yeah. I'll definitely, I'd like to connect with you for sure. So,
Okay.
we can definitely do that. And, yeah, and stay in touch in that sense. That'll be cool.
That. Thanks so much, man.
Evan, you got it. I'll talk to you soon then.
Later, bud.
Take care.